tentang nala dan kemurungan hatinya. Nala figur sederhana, tak ramai kelilingnya. 92 lahirnya, hari besar baginya bila melihat benih cinta. Bagi Nala itu langka. Lama Nala merasa sulit disuka. Bagi Nala malam ini istimewa. Sedih dia kembali masuk kamarnya. Tentang Nala dan kemurungan hatinya. Lalu Nala mengirim singkat sebuah pesan kepadanya. Nala bertanya kapan ada waktu lain lagi. Bila ini kesempatan kamu, remedi yang mungkin tak terulang, kesempatan untuk terang hidupmu. Aku tak akan menghalangimu. Aku tak mau, aku rasakan. Yakinmu dilawan ragu, tapi sampai kapan kamu menahan-nahan? Bila pergi itu solusi untuk kejar mimpimu, kejar perlumu, kejar maumu. Untuk kejar mimpimu, kejar perlumu, kejar maumu. Pasti sedih menghalang legaku, melepasmu berawan pandangku. Sendu mengingat pipi merahmu dan semua baik manis kenangmu. Ku harus mampu, aku rasakan. Yakinmu dilawan ragu, tapi sampai kapan kamu menahan-nahan? Bila pergi itu solusi kejar mimpimu, kejar perlumu, kejar maumu. Untuk kejar mimpimu, kejar perlumu, kejar maumu. Kita jaga tak terputus kata, segala mungkin lagi bersama. Bila sudah begitu jalannya, semoga sedih ini sementara, sementara temu lagi.
Good morning, Professor Ferry J. How are you today?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. How are you today?
Fine, I'm fine. Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Khairun Nasirin. How are you today?
Good morning.
Professor Ferry J, have you been in Indonesia yet?
Yes, several
really?
times, but I would love to this year, hopefully.
Okay. Have you been
To
in
South
Palembang?
Oh, several times. I
Several
love with
times.
the fish cake.
Ah,
I love with
pempek. They call
pempek,
it
yeah.
pempek. Ah, you love it. Okay.
It's a beautiful town in Palembang, isn't it, Pak?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So you live in what
Western
city in
Australia.
Australia?
Western Australia, Perth.
Oh, in Perth. Well, I've never been in Australia anyway.
Hopefully
I
you
hope one
visit.
day I will visit Edith Cowan University or the
Exactly.
university in Australia.
That's right. Yeah.
How many hours from Jakarta to Perth?
Maybe about 4 hours 20 minutes
4
via
hours 20
Garuda.
minutes. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Bali, it's about 3.5 hours.
Oh, closer if we go by from Bali, yeah?
Yeah, Garuda actually is just in the evening. Then you arrive about 10:30 in the in the evening, in the night time.
Okay. Well, so better go there from Bali, 1 hour earlier, faster,
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, good. Well, the committee, are you ready to start this program? Ms. Bardiana Wulandari, MC.
Yes, okay, for all the present and participant, we will start our event now. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and peace for us all. The Honorable Mr. Professor Dr. Alfitri MSc, as Dean of the Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, whom we respect, Mr. Haji Ashar, SH, MSc, LLM, LLB, as Deputy Dean the Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, whom we respect, Mr. Dr. Andreas Leonardo, SIP, MSc, as Head of Department of Communication, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, whom we respect, Mr. Faisal Nomaini, as SOS, MSc, as Secretary of Department of Communication, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, whom we respect, all the lecturer and staff of the Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, whom we respect, Mr. Professor Ferry G, PhD, and Mr. Dr. Hairun Nasirin, MPD, MARS, as our interviewees today, and which I'm proud the all participants of research workshop by Department of Communication 2022. Thank you and welcome. Firstly, let's say thanks to our God, the Lord of the world, the Lord of the universe, because of his blessing and mercy that we can gather today to attend research workshop by them. Strategy to publish top international journal or on communication and social political science, what we can do post COVID-19 without something wrong happen. Secondly, may salawat and salam always be delivered to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who had brought us from the darkness to the bright modern era that we live in today. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Beliana Duyulandari, as Master of Ceremony today. I'll read the sequences of our event today. First, opening. Second, singing the national anthem. Third, opening speech. Fourth, material session. Fifth, photo. And the last is closing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's open this event by saying lafaz basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Next up is singing the national anthem. For all the participants, please adjust. Thank you. Furthermore, let's listen to opening speech. The first opening speech is from Deputy Dean, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, for Mr. Haji Ashar, MSc, LLM, LLB. Place and time are welcome.
Auzubillahiminasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wabihi nasta'inu ala umuri dunya waddin. Wassalawatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, peace and salutation be upon the noble Prophet Islam, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and his household, his companion, and his faithful follower until the end of the time. The Honorable Dean, Professor Dr. Alfitri MSc, Dean Social and Political Sciences, Sriwijaya University, the Honorable Deputy Dean in Student and Alumni, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, the Honorable Panelists, Professor Perry G, PhD from Edith Cowan University, Australia, Dr. Khairun Nasirin, MPD, Mars, from College of Health Sciences, Stikas Mataram. Thank you for being speaker at the research workshop today. I really appreciate it. I would like to thank to Ms. Rindang Senja Andini as moderator from Communication Department, Sriwijaya University. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome you to the research workshop with the theme Strategy to Publish Top International Journal on Communication, Social and Political Sciences, What We Can Do Post-COVID-19. This workshop provides a valuable opportunity for us to have a new insight for social and political science faculty students, especially major in communication. We hope this workshop will give a participant practical knowledge about how to write and to publish an article in international journal, especially top international journal. This workshop will also foster a sense of awareness of social and political issues that are currently being happening, especially after this pandemic has changed the order of our social life. I'm sure today we'll have a fruitful and rewarding knowledge and experience from both speakers. I wish you every success with this important workshop, and I look forward to learning about the outcome. Dear Dean, Professor, Dr. Alfitri MSI, after this, I hope you deliver welcoming remarks and open this research workshop. Wabillahi wa taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Ashar, for your speech. Okay, the last opening speech is from Dean, the Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, and at the same time to open our event today. For Mr. Professor Dr. Alfitri MSc, place and time are welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang saya hormati panelis kita pada pagi hari ini, Profesor Feriji dan Dr. Khairun Nasirin, Bapak Wakil Dekan 1, dan para peserta, ya, termasuk Ketua Jurusan Ilmu Komunikasi, serta peserta workshop yang saya cintai. Marilah kita selalu memanjatkan puji syukur kita kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, karena kita masih diberikan nikmat kesempatan dan kesehatan, dan hari ini adalah acara riset workshop dengan tema Strategy to Publish Top International Journal on Communication and Social Political Science. Saya kira workshop ini sangat penting, ya, terutama bagi para mahasiswa agar bisa mempublikasikan karya-karya ilmiah, terutama di jurnal bereputasi. Dan Fakultas Ilmu Sosial Ilmu Politik sangat concern untuk mendorong baik mahasiswa dan dosen untuk mempublikasikan karya-karya ilmiah di jurnal bereputasi. Paling tidak ini akan membawa iklim akademik yang baik ya bagi sebuah perguruan tinggi, sebuah universitas, terutama bagi kalangan dosen yang ingin naik jabatan. Oleh sebab itu, workshop ini bisa dimanfaatkan bagi semua sivitas akademika, Fakultas Sosial Ilmu Politik, agar bisa secara bersama-sama untuk bisa mempublikasikan ya karya ilmiahnya di jurnal ataupun buku-buku. Saya terima kasih disampaikan kepada Ketua Jurusan Komunikasi dan beserta stafnya dan para panitia, dan tidak lupa juga kepada dua panelis, ya, Profesor Feriji dan Dr. Hairun Nasirin. Khusus kepada Prof. Feriji, ya kami akan mengangkat Profesor Feriji ini sebagai salah satu dosen tamu, ya, dosen tamu asing ya di Fakultas Ilmu Sosial Ilmu Politik. Sekarang sedang berproses untuk diterbitkan surat keputusan Rektor Universitas Sriwijaya. Saya berharap workshop ini akan sukses dan berjalan lancar dan bisa dijadikan semacam barometer atmosfer akademik di Fakultas Ilmu Sosial Ilmu Politik Universitas Sriwijaya. Dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, workshop penelitian atau riset workshop FISIP Unsri dengan tema strategi to publish top international journal on communication and social political science dibuka secara resmi. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Alfitri, for your amazing speech and has opened our event today. Next up, the most awaited part material session will be guided by Mrs. Rindang Senja Andarini, SECOM MECOM, as our moderator today. Before that, I want to remind all participants to turn on your camera and turn off your microphone. You are allowed to turn on your microphone during Q&A session. Okay, because I see impatient expression of all participants to immediately get material from our amazing interviewees, let's welcome our moderator. For Mrs. Rindang Senja Andarini, SECOM MECOM, time is yours.
Good morning, the Honorable Dean of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University, Professor Dr. Alfitri MSI, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs of Social and Political Science, Dr. Haji Azhar SH MSc LLM LLD, Vice Dean for Financial and General Affairs, Mrs. Hoirunisa SPD MPD, Vice Dean for Student and Alumni Affairs, and Head of Communication Department, Dr. Andreas Leonardo, Secretary of Communication Department, Mr. Faisal Nomaini SOS MSI, all lecturer and student of Sriwijaya University, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this research workshop with the topic Strategy to Publish Top International Journal on Communication and Social Political Science, What We Can Do in the Post-COVID-19. In these occasions, we would like to have two presentations from Professor Feriji, PhD. Good morning, Professor Feriji. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes. Mr. Feriji from Edith Cowan University, Australia, and the second presentations from Dr. Khairun Nasirin, MPD. Good morning, Dr. Khairun Nasirin.
Good morning.
Good morning. For the first sessions, we will hear the presentation from Professor Feriji for about 25 minutes. And after that, we'll follow with the presentation from Dr. Khairul Nazirin. And at the end of presentation, we will have question and answer sessions. For the first sessions, we will hear from Professor Feriji, but before the presentations begins, allow us to introduce the speaker. Mr. Feriji is Professor and Deputy Director from Edith Cowan University with remarkable research experience, of course, with remarkable research grants. And I cannot read one by one, Professor Feriji, because if we read the CV of Mr. Feriji, we can see, oh, this is so amazing. The experience, the research experience, the award and the recognitions from international and nationals, of course. And without further ado, Mr. Feriji, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you. All right. So first of all, I would like to say thank you so much to Unsri and the Faculty of Communications, Social and Political Sciences staff, colleagues, deans, vice deans, students, as well as all participants here. So I would like to start. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And just would like to start with my session today is about strategy to publish the top international journal in the area of communication, social, political sciences, what we can do post COVID-19 in the era for, or what we call the new normal. So if you want to reach me for publishing together, you can get my WhatsApp's also email address. And this is my details. I think the moderator has introduced me. I have published more than 73 journal articles, and this year I published, I think, around 6 articles already early this year, 2022. The most papers I published in the Q1 and Q2, as you know, for the Simago journal ranking system, you know, focusing more in the high quality journal. As well as for my research grants, it helping me for publication for my research project. So every year I receive competitive research grants funded by Australia government, you know, industry grants, as well as from university funding. Okay, so this is the list of my publications in terms of the book chapters and the journal articles. As you can see, a lot of papers what I publish with my international scholars collaboration. So one particular element what we can do in the post-COVID-19 in order to publish top-tier journals, we still need to work together, collaboration, writing paper together, you know, with the international collaborators, co-authors. This is one particular message or strategy in the post-COVID-19. Especially you can publish together with other scholars, other, you know, South Sumatra or Palembang scholars, or maybe you can publish with other colleagues outside your university or outside your country. So as you can see, I publish actually with more than 2 authors on average. So we publish 3 authors, 4 authors. You know, you can see I publish is mostly in SJR, which is Simago. Journal ranking is Q1. For example, Sustainability Journal, and all you can see 5, 6 in the 2021 in the top articles in the Q1 journal under Simago journal ranking system. Now, as well as I work very closely with Indonesia collaborations, academic scholars from different universities. So this is very good opportunity with Sriwijaya University, your Faculty of Communication, Political and Socio-Political Sciences. We can publish in the area of the communication, perhaps, or social sciences, communication strategy, or even in a social media papers, you know. Yeah, so if you look at high quality journal publication, that's a good example. So today workshop, I would like to share what strategy if you want to write a paper in the top tier journals. Okay, so this is another papers. You can see the list of publications. I just want to share with you, you know, the experience when I write these articles, and you know, to get a published in the Q1 or Q2. Okay, so the dean professor mentioned about when you write paper, of course, for academic scholars or graduate student, postgrad students, or the final year student, you write thesis, right, for your research project. So you'll be able to publish together with your promoter or your supervisors. Of course, your supervisor would like to get good promotion, right? To be guru besar, yeah, professor in Indonesia. So you do not want to be assistant ahli. You do not want to be lector. You do not want to be lector kepala. Okay. So you want to achieve professor. So I think Indonesia government really wants, like Unsri, gets a lot more professors and then strengthen your world-class ranking university, and plus to produce high quality students in the area of research and publication. So I think the dean also mentioned, I'm so pleased to support Unsri, like your faculty, your staff members and students and scholars as a guest speaker. You know, I would love to support, you know, hopefully the rectors actually endorse that particular as a guest speaker or guest lecturer in your faculty at Unsri. So Palembang is my favorite town. So as you can see, it's a beautiful, you know, food there. It's amazing, yummy food. Of course, it's a nice people in Palembang. Okay. Now, there are 4 things you need to think about it why you need to get published in top tier journal. So when you write a paper in a communication or political social sciences, you need to think about it, contribution. When you write paper, you need to think about it, what contribution? Contribution, there are 2 things. It's the first one is to the body of knowledge, theoretical lenses, or contribution to the practitioners or government. If you do political research study or social sciences, you have to think about it, contribution to the practitioners and the government or community, say for example. And if you publish paper, of course, you want to be popular in the particular area, in the communication, political, social sciences. And as you can see, I also strengthening my general impacts in Edge Index. Of course, you can get promotion in university. Now, you can see in the slide, I look at last night in terms of the Simago journal ranking system under, you know, communication social sciences. As you can see the applied linguistics is the highest, which is Q1, and a 3.941, which is the impact factor, and the journal of communication is Q1. Communication methods and measures. If you publish in the communication methods and measures, you need to demonstrate the methodology and the measure aspect in your paper. it is clearly mentioned that in the journal, the title is about methods and measures. Say, for example, if you want to write a paper about communication in the social media aspect, in the data mining, communication in the community, you need to show how do you measure and showing the methods, in your article. If the methods and the measurement is very general, unfortunately, it cannot get published in that journal. And then you can see the new media and society. It is very good journal. Digital journalism. I'm sure in this room, you know the journalistic and journalism study. These days for the post-COVID-19, everything in digitalization, everything is a technology oriented. So digital journalism is a very good, especially you want to introduce what practical and innovation digitalization journalism in Indonesia. You want to introduce to the global academic scholars or international academic scholars, what particular innovation digital journalism in Indonesia you want to introduce in your paper. Political communication is very difficult to get published. Why? Because when you publish in the political communication, I'm sure a lot of references in your paper, so many Indonesia references. Unfortunately, you have to translate those to English to make sure international academic scholars understand with the political communication in the English references. Try to avoid if you publish in the English, not to use so many local or Indonesia references. If you do have like peraturan pemerintah, undang-undang, you need to translate from bahasa into English. So that is a political communication. Now, if you're dealing with the advertising communication channel, dealing with the branding product, you like public relation advertising, it is good you can publish in the Journal of Advertising. It is not difficult, I believe, because what I can see the Journal of Advertising is you need to be brave enough when you publish in this journal, because you need to get a good data when you publish in advertising journal. If you have a sample, if you do statistical or survey, and the sample size is so low, unfortunately, in the Journal of Advertising, it's so hard to get your paper accepted. You need to have high response rate in your survey. In particular, when you do interview or focus group, you need to have high response rates. Okay, so if you distribute the survey for advertising journal, you need to get a lot more consumers to fill up your survey. You need to get at least maybe 200 samples, or it depends what factors and variables in your model, in your framework. And then you need to determine the adequate sample size for your research method. And if you look at the next slide, I'm happy to share this slide to you after I finish my presentation, okay? So you don't need to type and write. So you will have my slide for your reference. Now, political sciences and international relations, you can see in your field, it's so specific, it mentioned like American Journal of Political Sciences. If it's showing the country like American Journal of Political Sciences, they a lot more preference in the American political studies or unless you want to do comparison between American political with United Kingdom, with the Asia political regime, then if a comparative analysis, then you'll be able to submit your paper to them. But if you only focus on your country, it's so difficult to get published because into that journal, because this journal is a very specific about American Journal of Political Sciences. So everything, the title is a very specific. You really need to understand the scope, the target audience, whether or not your paper is suitable to get paper published in that journal. Because otherwise, when you submit, within 48 hours or 72 hours, your paper gonna be test rejection. It means that your paper is not suitable into that journal. So just be careful when you submit the article to make sure your paper is suitable in the scope, target audience, requirement. It's very important. And the second one is American Political Science Review. If the second one is a tough because this journal is focusing on review. Unfortunately, if your paper just only more description or descriptive, it's so difficult to get paper in because this more about review. And the third one is international organization. This is very good. If you have a paper more than one country into your article, you can publish in that international organization. Now, the definition international, you include like more than 3 or 4 countries. For example, like you do comparative, you do empirical international organization between Indonesia, ASEAN countries, you'll be able to get published into that journal. A political analysis is more focused, more political study, but you need to do more critical analysis in your paper. A British, another term about British Journal of Political Sciences. Again, if we got American, we got British, right? And then perspective of politics, quarterly or journal of politics science. This is a good thing, it's quarterly, because once a year you can get published 4 issues. You got quarterly, so pretty much you have 40 papers published in a year or more than that if you got quarterly journal of political sciences. Now, my experience when you challenges and concerns, you know, for the post-COVID, what we can do, this is the topic I discussed with Pa Andres, what we can do in the post-COVID-19 when we want to get publish your paper. I just want to share in the 2020 when we have COVID, 2021, a good time for you when you write paper. Good time for you when you start doing your literature review, start, conversation in a Zoom, Microsoft Teams, watch apps. Say, for example, with Pa Andreas, I have a regular communication through WhatsApp with him, what I can help with Unsri, in particular for research. So Unsri is one particular university I can help in my KPI, key performance indicator, to mentor Unsri to be very good, accredited, high-ranking research, become very good world-class ranking university as well. So to promote students as well as academic scholar doing a lot more research in high-quality papers in publication. Now, can I please share with you the challenges and concerns when I publish papers? The only problem is so limited chances to publish in top-tier journal. In particular communication and political social sciences, you got 2 or 3 issues per volume. One issue you can have 10 papers. If you got 2 volumes in a year with 2 issues, you got maybe 40 to 50 papers get published. If I receive 1,000 articles, it means that so many rejection, right? High rejection, because in 1 year, we only can have up to 50 papers. So if you have say for example, 100, so maybe only 2 or 3% acceptance, or maybe up to 5% maximum acceptance rates. So in your area, so many excellent researchers are competing, right? Even though in Indonesia, you have UI, you have UGM, you have Undip in Semarang. They also publish in your area. So, this is a good time for you. You work collaboration with them to write paper together, to attend conference, and start introducing yourself, even in virtual conference. Now, when you do research, it's a quite long process. My experience when I did research until that paper has been published, it took me nearly 2-3 years sometime. You do research, data collection, interview, maybe 6 and 12 months, then 6 months to write the paper, and then 6 months you got the first round review, and you resubmit your paper, and then the reviewer is not happy, they send you back again your revision, and they invite you the second round review. Now I got one paper with May wanting to publish in a Q1. It took me 5th round review. Can you imagine 5th round review? It took me nearly 1 year, 3 months already for 5th round review. So back, forward the paper, and even myself, I'm trying to address all the reviewers' comments. I just got headache, but I'm trying because this is possibility for me. Hopefully, the 5th round review is a final chance for me. I get my paper accepted in Q1. I never give up. So that's one element. In the post-COVID, you need to have attitude, never give up. Keep writing papers. Get a lot publication, more collaboration with other academic scholars. Introducing yourself in a virtual face-to-face conference. Engaging a lot more with the research student, and do research together with your student, and helping them to convert from the thesis into the paper publication. This is very good approach for you. Sometimes you receive the reviewers who are very picky and demanding. They want you to do more data collection, for example. You done the 30 interviews. Sometimes the reviewer said, no, sorry, it's not enough 30 interviews. Can you please do more than 10 more? You can get 40. No, it takes time for you because you need to do another round for interview. And then you need to rewrite your discussion. You need to rewrite your results, because when you add 10 more interview, maybe your finding and results for your research going to be changed. And make sure you need to utilize your time, your knowledge, skills. Mostly I get published working with Indonesia scholars with Undip, Unsri, Unpad, Pajajaran, UGM, UI, Petra University in Surabaya. So mostly my co-authors, they're very good knowledge, skills in the methodology. But I working with them to write together in the area of literature, papers, contribution, methodology, and all aspects. Now, if you look at the understanding the needs of leading journal, understanding who the audience are, this is something I mentioned before. I'm currently handling a special issue in the Q1 journal. So that my experience, my observation, what reviewers, I have a more than 175 reviewers list in my database in that journal. So as the editors and the reviewers, what particular they like? They like the strong literature, a good novelty for your article, introduction background, make sure your significant of study or any gaps you want to close the gap for your study. Again, the research design method is very important because if you want to publish in the method and measures in a political journal, you need to show the advanced technique methodology and the measurement in your research. You need to have a high quality data and strong results because if you only have a sample size, only 25 or 30 in the survey, well, my question is that your survey results, is it can be generalized to the whole country in Indonesia? You have to think about it in terms of your data and information. Have to think about it, any contribution, from your article. I mentioned before, there are two things: contribution, theoretical body of knowledge, and practitioners, government, or other stakeholders. When you write paper, make sure it's interesting, creative, showing your critical thinking, showing your critical analysis, especially when you write paper in the journal review. You have to show your critical thinking about everything outside the box. And then try avoid long sentences. Try avoid many idea in one sentence. You need to keep simple when you write paper, right? A good presentation skill, logical, clear, and concise. When you write paper, make sure you follow the author guideline, the journal author guideline from Elsevier, in the Science, Emerald Insight, or Taylor and Francis, Sage publication. Make sure you have to follow and download auto guidelines, because if you're not following the auto guideline, the editor normally they refuse and reject your article within 24 to 48 hours. So it's not editors, but the administrator publisher normally reject your paper. So that's the first screening. Basically, the paper got rejected in the top tier journal because sometimes your research not interesting, not important. If you come up with the hypothesis, sometimes without theory, without any justification, the method cannot answer your research question, research problem, and very weak empirical contribution with the data so poor quality. So again, try to avoid domestic references. If you publish in an international reputation journal, you need to make sure get the paper from that journal. Say, for example, you want to publish Journal Political Sciences, which is in the Q1. You need to cite at least one or two from that journal into your paper, because otherwise it's so weird when your paper published into that journal, but no paper cited in that journal into your paper. So ideally, at least two papers from that journal, you need to cite them. Okay, so this is the heading. Normally when you write paper, you make sure you have abstract, you got introduction, you got literature, method, result, discussion, conclusion. The acknowledgement is very important, especially you receive funding from government or any funding, you need to acknowledge them. References. Ideally, when you publish in Q1, you need to have at least 15 or 20 references in a Q1. If you got less than 20 or less than 10, well, unfortunately, your paper is so weak and so thin in terms of references. Make sure you got tables, figures, a very clear, concise presentation. Now, when you write introduction, conclusion, make sure it's consistent. The way I review the paper, I read the conclusion and introduction. If not consistent, unfortunately, doesn't sound good paper. So the first section normally the reviewer read is abstract, intro, and conclusion. So make sure consistent. And the introduction should go straight to the issue in the first paragraph. So the first paragraph showing what is the main topic for your research. So go straight away to explain in first paragraph. Then explain the background from that idea. Finish with a concise description of the contribution of the paper. References should include your previous work in this area. Say, for example, you published in the 2018, put in there previous work, any relations, relevance to your current work now, you mentioned it. And plus, you also need to include any papers from that journal you want to submit. Maybe Journal of Political Sciences, American Journal of Political Science, or American Journal or British Journal of Political Studies. You know, you include that into your paper. Now, if you look at the conclusion should briefly precise the context and the purpose of the paper. It then should conclude, not summarize each of the item in the result discussion section. For example, we embark on the study to do review, you know, political situation in Indonesia before or after COVID-19, etc. Important in this process was you explain it, right? So make sure you better explain in a precise, briefly conclude, not summarize each item. So the conclusion should be about serving the literature. A lot of paper I read, the conclusion is a very, very weak. The conclusion is very thin. Ya, sangat lemah. Karena that literature not connecting dengan kesimpulan. Jadi kesimpulan and literature must be connected. Okay, because you want to publish in Q1, right? So you can't simply leave it there, literature, leave it there, any previous studies, without include to the conclusion and discussion part in the entire paper. Dan juga harus di-explain dan dijelaskan literaturnya, studi pustaka, right? So jadi Ibu Rindang, saya gaduh-gaduh saja ya. Semoga banyak sekali yang mungkin keterbatasan dalam bahasa Inggris, mungkin baiknya juga gaduh-gaduh lah, ya. Mungkin campur dengan pempek juga boleh itu. Now, was saying before the research that kira-kira kontribusi apa yang memberikan perubahan di dalam literatur. Okay? Juga diberikan usulan, suggestion, rekomendasi apa untuk research berikutnya. Jadi jangan hanya stop sampai di sana, harus diberikan kira-kira research berikutnya seperti apa. This is what we call future research. Nah, kalau Bapak Ibu mau dan partisipan mau melihat topik yang bagus, kira-kira download High Rank Journal, baca halaman terakhir. Jadi kira-kira memberikan ide buat Bapak Ibu untuk melakukan penelitian. Itu kata kunci. Jadi kunci utama kalau melakukan penelitian, wah, kayaknya terutama untuk adik-adik yang melakukan tesis ya, baca jurnal artikel, lihat halaman terakhir. Kira-kira penelitian selanjutnya apa ini? Bisakah dilakukan di Indonesia? Jadi itu yang memberikan topik yang bagus untuk dilakukan penelitian di Indonesia, di Palembang. Okay, so if you use the question in the title, you must answer. Okay, if you use a colon, be aware because some people don't like it. Jadi kalau title itu hati-hati ya dengan judul. Judul itu biasanya 8-10 kata. Kalau tesis nggak apa-apa judulnya panjang, tetapi kalau artikel judulnya nggak bisa panjang-panjang. Judulnya kalau ada pertanyaan harus dijawab. Kalau bisa judulnya jangan terlalu banyak pertanyaan. Kalau bisa dibikin plain, jadi bikin sederhana. Put your title in the search engine. Sediment transport can be either hydrology or dental hygiene, for example, right? Now, kalau memilih kata di dalam title dan keyword, hati-hati. Pilihlah kata dan title karena ini bisa meningkatkan indeks, H-index Bapak dan Ibu. Makanya Bapak dan Ibu menjadi populer di dalam research. Pilih kata yang cukup menarik dan cukup penting. Jadi kalau mereka mau cite paper Bapak dan Ibu, ditemukan di Google Scholar, ditemukan di jurnal database, melihat dari kata kunci, atau keyword, title-nya itu sangat penting. Jangan menggunakan kata-kata yang sudah ada di dalam judul. Jangan double. Jadi judulnya misalnya bicara mengenai advertising. Jadi keywordnya jangan advertising lagi. Kalau judulnya mengenai social media di dalam post-COVID-19. Atau judulnya mengenai global communication di bawah WHO misalnya. Karena ini kan bicara mengenai international political dengan WHO. Jadi jangan ada keywordnya dengan WHO. Oke, jadi jangan di-repeat atau diulang. Kita bicara dengan abstrak. Kalau Bapak Ibu menulis abstrak, biasanya requirement dari jurnal itu political science itu biasanya 150 kata. Kalau abstrak di dalam Emerald Insight, dia butuh structure abstrak. Structure abstraknya ada objektif, ada purpose, ada method, ada results, ada practical, ada originality, ya, ada value-nya. Jadi itu penting. Jadi kita harus turutin dengan kira-kira aturan dari jurnal itu. Biasanya kita menulis abstrak itu singkat dan padat. Di dalam abstrak itu harus ada tujuan penelitian. Kira-kira apa yang digunakan studi pustaka? Kira-kira 50 kata. Metode apa yang digunakan? Penemuan apa di dalam abstrak itu? Mungkin kira-kira 20 kata atau 30 kata. Nah, ada 4 elemen di dalam abstrak. Abstrak di dalam political social sciences perlu ada tujuan, perlu ada method, perlu ada hasil penelitian, perlu adanya kontribusi. Kalau ada 4 itu di dalam abstrak, di dalam 150-200 kata, dan sangat bagus penulisannya. Kalau editor saya sebagai chief editor, saya happy dengan paper itu, saya akan kirim paper itu ke reviewers saya. Jadi reviewersnya biasanya saya punya 3. Kenapa 3? Kalau 2 mengatakan iya, 1 mengatakan tidak, your paper will get another chance to invite to resubmit as a second or first round review. Kalau 2 mengatakan tidak, 1 mengatakan iya, saya tidak bisa mengatakan apa-apa. Paper Anda ditolak. Jadi reviewers sangat penting. Biasanya saya melihat reviewers itu berdasarkan disiplin dan area expertise. Ya, banyak sekali editor itu nakal. Banyak sekali jurnal itu abal-abalan. Kalau di Indonesia kan banyak bilang, kalau dikti atau menteri bisa mengatakan, oh jurnal abal-abalan. Jadi jurnal abal-abalan yaitu predatory, jurnalnya minta duit, dan jurnalnya itu disubmit, nanti sejam kemudian, congratulations, your paper is accepted. Jadi without proper review. Right? So itu jurnal abal-abalan. Unfortunately, kalau nanti mengurus jenjang untuk mengurus kum, ya, ditolak papernya. Kurang papernya. Makanya banyak sekali ya dari lektor kepala itu guru besarnya ya banyak yang stuck itu di dalam proses penyeleksian guru besar, itu banyak sekali papernya tidak diakui atau waktu dicek ya itu ternyata jurnal abal-abalan. Nah, kalau nanti kira-kira akademisi kira-kira belum tahu, mungkin cek dengan Dikti ya, apakah jurnal itu betul, dan cek saja di Simago. Kalau Q1, Q2 pasti bukan abal-abalan, oke? Nah, kalau acknowledgement, jadi saya bicara dengan acknowledgement itu kan kita harus, kalau ada funding, ada fully supervised or original thinking or first authorship, oke? Jadi itu sangat penting untuk acknowledgement. Nah, Bapak dan Ibu kalau menulis paper, kadangkala paper itu kalau belum ada pengalaman, ternyata paper itu diminta untuk revisi. Ternyata major revision. Jadi perlu paper itu dicek dan dilihat apakah benar-benar paper itu diperbaikin. Kalau ada deadline-nya, diikutin. Kalau minta extension, is not good impression. Karena biasanya editor itu punya time frame. Jadi ada sama paper saya ini, saya kerjasama dengan di USA, ternyata authornya busy, minta extension, dan publish in the Q1. Jadi editornya bilang, kita sudah memberikan 3 bulan revisi. Minta extension lagi. Jadi dia punya ada timeline. Okay? Nah, if you have any doubt about suitable of paper for journal, write the editor and associate editor. Sometimes saya sering menerima email dari authors, kira-kira abstrak ini diterima nggak di jurnal? Kalau ragu, bisa ditulis seperti itu. Sebelum nanti dikirim, tiba-tiba tunggu 2 bulan, 3 bulan, ternyata paper ini juga ditolak karena tidak cocok. Bagusnya ditanya dulu, kirimlah abstraknya. Now, if the journal requires suggested reviewers, then pre-warn your nomination, you will suffer less delay as a result. Now, in replying to reviewers' comments, follow the editor instruction and provide a response. So if you receive the reviewers' comments, you need to have a file respond to the reviewers. So you need to create a table. Jadi Bapak Ibu buat table, kira-kira responnya kepada reviewersnya seperti apa. Kolom pertama itu feedback, pertanyaan dari reviewers. Kolom kedua, responnya apa Bapak dan Ibu. Setelah Ibu respon, Bapak Ibu respon feedback yang pertama, responnya apa. Feedbacknya 2, responnya apa. Jadi dibuat tabel. Jadi saya sebagai reviewer, editor itu saya cek apakah benar-benar direspon atau tidak dari setiap reviewers itu. Comments. Kalau tidak direspon, kalau mereka, ini tidak mampu paper ini, ya, dia akan stop dan akan decline. It's so painful. Karena mungkin sudah menunggu 6 bulan, 8 bulan ya. Karena ternyata di resubmit, ternyata nggak mampu papernya. Berat. Ya, dan nggak sanggup. Ya, of course, sebagai reviewer, sebagai editor, saya tolak. Ya, jadi buang waktu ya, 8 bulan. Apalagi 1 tahun. Ya. Nah, I'm more than happy to take any question. So what I just give you suggestion for all of you. What you need to do, in the post-COVID-19, please work collaboration with other academic scholars, with Australia, Indonesia, other universities. Number 2, keep writing and never give up. And number 3, get very good student. If you supervise them, make sure you supervise them and direct them, and make sure you help them when they collect the data or information, and make sure you have a proper consultation with your student. Why? Because if your student produce a very good research, this is good chance for you to publish with them rather than you do by yourself. for your research. So you have to do work together with your research, with postgrad student. Number 5, seeking opportunity in the post-COVID-19. So many special issues, so many opportunities. Saya dengar Bank Indonesia ada memberikan hibah ya. Jadi kemarin sempat kita mungkin penutupan baru hari ini ya untuk hibah dari Bank Indonesia. Itu sekitar 250 juta. Saya kira banyak sekali perguruan tinggi negeri kalau punya ada opportunity di post-COVID ya, dari government, pemerintah, dari UNESCO, dari PBB, dari ASEAN Development Bank, semua scholarship, semua funding untuk membiayai penelitian Bapak dan Ibu, please apply and submit very good application. Then you can get, funding to support your research. Yes, this is very good. And that's why I think I'm sure actually Unsri Palembang ya merupakan universitas negeri ya yang ada di Palembang, itu sangat terkenal dan juga sangat banyak sekali alumni yang kira-kira berkualitas ya. Jadi untuk alumni, untuk adik-adik mahasiswa-mahasiswi mencintai Unsri dan juga bekerja sama dengan promotor ya, pembimbing, menulis paper sama-sama, dan juga kalau bisa sidang proposal atau sidang akhir atau sidang tesis untuk S3, S2, kalau bisa dapat A. Kalau dapat C ya susah untuk papernya dipublish ya. Itu something wrong ya, karena dapat C. Jadi kalau bisa dapat A. Jadi kalau bisa nanti fakultas atau jurusan atau prodi dilihat itu kira-kira sebelum yudisium ya, pra-yudisium. Dilihat kira-kira tesis yang bagus yang kira-kira bakal untuk dipublikasikan seperti apa. Nah, ini adalah peluang yang baik sekali untuk meningkatkan kualitas penelitian di Unsri dan juga meningkatkan akreditasi Badan Akreditasi Nasional. Saya sudah KPI banyak sekali perguruan tinggi negeri, termasuk Undip, UGM, UI, Pajajaran di Jatinangor, Universitas Jambi, termasuk juga universitas yang ada di Sulawesi, ya, and then juga di Makassar, dan termasuk perguruan tinggi Muhammadiyah, PTM. Jadi ini merupakan bagus sekali untuk Unsri. Sukses buat Unsri dan sukses buat fakultas. Sekali lagi, please do research and then keep writing papers. Okay, thank you so much and all the best to you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Feriji, for the very fruitful and delightful presentations. And I like to quote your quotations. Keep writing and don't give up. So, ladies and gentlemen, we shall continue to the second presentations from Dr. Khairun Nasirin, MPD, MARS. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Khairun. Okay, before the presentations begins, allow me to introduce the speaker. The committee, would you mind to help me to share the CV of Mr. from Mr. Khairun? Yes, thank you. Mr. Khairun Nasirin now is the Director College of Health Science Mataram, and Mr. Khairun Nasirin got his doctor title from University of Brawijaya Malang and the Master of Education from State University Surabaya. And we can see, ladies and gentlemen, how productive Mr. Khairun Nasirin. He has wrote so many books. write so many research articles. We can see. And of course, with international publications. Okay, Dr. Khairul Nasirin is so productive and has remarkable publications, not only national but also international. So, Dr. Khairul Nasirin, without further ado, you have 25 minutes for the presentations, and after that, we will continue to question and answer sessions. So, for all participants, if you have any questions, please wait until the second presentation's over. And Dr. Khairul, please, time is yours. Good morning, Dr. Khairul Nasirin. Hello? Okay, there is some trouble with the audio device. We cannot hear your voice clearly.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we can hear now.
Finally, yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. First of all, I would like to respect my honors to the rector of Sriwijaya University. Secondly, I would like also to respect my honor to Professor Alfitri, the Dean of Faculty Social Science and Political Science, Sriwijaya University. Good morning, Mr. Ferry G from Edison University. So I'm happy to be with you here today. And My Excellency also, that's my beloved friend, Mr. Andres Leonardo, and also Deputy Deans, Mr. Azhar, and our colleagues. And also, I would like to say hello to all the lecturers, students, and the academic member of the Faculty of Social and Political Science, Sriwijaya University in Palembang. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues, for my introduction, I would like to allow you to explain what is the meaning of scientific academic publishing that I have to write on my topic. As you know that scientific academic publishing is a field of publishing that distribute by academic research that mostly it's conducted by researchers to fulfilling the correct research rules and ethic publication. Mostly the publication of the research conducted by research or by student who want to finish or doing his thesis or dissertation, and also for the researchers that it's one of the important things to do to produce scientific paperwork. Well, here I would like to say that the benefit of publication can be scientific reference, mostly for the lecturers, the student who will conduct research, and mostly it's one of the good source teaching material. Following the introduction, here I would like to present my papers. It's about the strategy for expanding the scholarly scientific academic publication, with the big question that I would like to share with you is, what does the impact factor journal means to you, because some other colleges or researchers, they're always wondering about how to publish. It's quite difficult sometimes to publish in journal, as Mr. Ferigi talked about it before. That is true. Well, talking about this one, according to my introduction in the beginnings, I would like to say that the big question is, why should we publish in good journal or reputable journal that has impact factor journal? It sounds quite difficult, of course, but we have to know to publish in the reputable journal, we have some things that we have to know about it. And why we have to publish in good journal or reputable journal? This is, we need some other people know about what we are doing in research. Mostly, we are happy when somebody is quote or paraphrasing our journal in the article. We are so happy for that. And why we have to publish also, because that's mostly like a lecturer or researchers, that's what we call by self-actualization. And mostly, of course, it is beneficial to pursuing the academic career. Ferigi already talked about, maybe people not only wants to be lector kepala, but mostly they wants to be professors. That is one of the pursuing academic careers. That's right. And why we have to publish? Because this is the effective way to share our research information and collaborate with other researchers. That's very important. And of course, this is one of the good strategy in acquiring new topic for the new research in the future. That's great one. And sorry, it's not working. Hello?
Yeah, the slide is not moving.
Yeah, it's the slide is not moving. Okay, its slide is not moving, so we have a problem a little bit here. I have no idea why. Okay.
Okay, it's moving
Okay.
now, Mr.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mostly after we're finishing our research, of course, as a lecturer, we are expected to publish the research in good journal. That is true, because nowadays so many journal that abal-abal, that like Ferigi says, that is true, because now so many people, if you want to get money, you want to make some stupid things, so they're asking or the scholar or the student to publish in their journal. And the purpose, if we publish in journal, what it's important is our reference and about the publishing will be appear. But to publish in a journal, indeed, it's not easy, of course, because a reputable journal, they need so many ways how to publish, and then the manuscript that they are accepted is not say easy also. I got so many things. Sometimes, you know, when I publish my paper, they have to reject it, and sometimes they're asking me to revise it with the major or minor revision. It's not easy, but I'm happy for doing that, because I can learn something new about publication. And the next slide, I would like to telling you about the strategy to publish in the journal. Well, we have some strategies to conduct the research. Mostly, the research, we have two ways. Needed the supporting and advising. If you want to have publication, mostly we are always asking somebody to help us, because we cannot work by ourselves to do publication. So we need some supporting and practical advice, of course, from mentoring if we are starting for the newcomer for people who write the academic writing. And of course, we also need some people who expertise and experience in our research, because to publish in research sometimes confusing, because they have the way how to publish on their own way journal, and they have so many editors. They are always asking so many things. When we have journal in manuscript that not in line with their journal. And if you want to do some research, conduct the research, first, according to me, we have to read a lot of literature of reference that can help to do research. Mostly, if we are talking about the research, we have to know about how the determining the location of our research, because by knowing the location of our research when we are where we are going to do, it is easy to define what is appropriate research mechanism, or researchers not only obtain what kind of methodology, because some of the bright idea mostly we can have from where we are staying, because in Indonesia, as we know, that so many interesting places that we can do our research. To choose the research topic, that we have to know people around us. Why? Because some of the people around us, sometimes they have experience and they know more about what we are doing and what we want to write about the proposal or research that we are interested in. And when we talk about publication, and when we talk about the researches, when we want to get some good publication, we have to know what the story that we want to explain to be our topic or big idea in our manuscript. As we know that research is a process of systematic that entitled data collection, documentation through data analysis. That's very common. That is true. What we can do, information that we gather must be get true information, and the result can be accounted. What I want to do here is, if you have knowledge about what you want to do, that you have find out the sourcing where the knowledge you can do in your publication, which the meaning of that things that the result of your research should be simply so everyone can utilize and get information easily about what you do. That's what about what researchers' choice. It's a good story. That is true. Next, I would like to say about the important title in manuscript. Why so important? What I say here is I'm just talking about the penting judul dalam sebuah publikasi. The title of manuscript usually become an introduction that the reader wants to know about the scientific work that do you want to publish. And mostly in your manuscript, you have to talk about, or you choose the attract attention title, which means that if you have a nice title or attract attention title, and indeed then your publication will describe easily, because if you know the content or the title that you want to do, it's you will hit the goal about your publication. The title in a journal, of course, can provide complete information. We already Ferry already talked about the title, and then okay, that is about the information about the content of the article. And the title, mostly they have several keywords to describe the manuscript. Therefore, the determination of the title research must be very important. Why I say the important? Because we can describe the object or subject that we want to do our research. The location that I mentioned before, that is one of the goals to achieve your publication. Therefore, this is the title. It's must be interesting. And then why the importance of the title in manuscript? It is important according to the researcher or lecturer, because to describe the manuscript accurately, we need some interesting title, because some of the editor or reviewer, they only see for the first time it's the title. Means that if you want to publish, so they will asking you about what is the title you want to discuss with our reader, and then why the title of the research must be interesting, because mostly the writer or the review or the reviewer or the researchers out how to make easily title. That's why I'm talking about the interesting topic. Why? Because by having the interesting topic that everyone wants to read about that, then in the title, yes, there's some keywords, important keywords that they will attach with. Why there is some important keywords on that? Because the keywords is separate with two, they're talking about the variable that you are using while you are doing your publication in your manuscript. We have two kinds of keywords, variable mostly, and one is what we call by dependent or independent variable. And variable, dependent variable, mostly we talk about what's being studied, and then the independent, of course, what the scientists want to change. We can change sometimes about the variable if we are confusing to doing that. And about what we can write the manuscript scientifically. Well, writing scientific manuscript is very important. Mostly researchers confusing when they're starting to make manuscript in the beginning. That's why write scientific manuscript, it's very important to research to share the idea with other researchers. And sometimes confusing. Why? Because they don't know how they begin with the writing. And it is intended that the most of manuscript the publish, they always asking some requirement and the guideline. That's why write the scientific manuscript means that when you are trying to submit your paper in one or two journal that you focus, they will knowing what is your expertise in. And of course, there are some writes a scientific manuscript. Why manuscript? It is important. The manuscript is important because we can say that it is one of the good scientific narrative. Why it's a manuscript? It's important because that's something to do with good scientific narrative. Then most of researcher or lecturer have to do this. And why? Because this is one of the interesting reasonable problem. Next, why manuscripts is important? Because the manuscript written mostly that's clear, concise, and logical way of how the writer or the researchers doing to export them or to exposure the manuscript. What we can do here in manuscript is mostly we have to write the simple word or the effective phrases, because if we are confusing, if we don't know how to catch up the word or phrases that we are doing in our publication, the rejection from the editor of the journal, it's happened. And the manuscript must be easy to understand in sentences. Simple sentence to get the manuscript, then the editor likes to do that. The manuscript must be relevant to the main topic. And of course, the formulation, they have to do that before they are starting the research. That's about the manuscript. And the manuscript mostly followed by introduction, method, result, and discussion. We are follow the IMRAG way. That is the common manuscript happen write by a scholar or writer or lecturer who wants to publish the paper. Next, talking about the manuscript, now I move to research collaboration. In previous, Reggie also talked about the collaboration. The collaboration that we do is not only national researcher or our colleges that we know best, but we need also to collaborate with international researchers, because some of the collaboration that we do with our another researchers, they have their expert in their own field, in their own area. Why? Because most of the researchers who know more about his publication, more of his writing, they know more about the area that they are doing to write. And why we have to collaborate with in national or international or our colleges about the research. This is what I call by build that networking connection with similar interests. The collaboration with similar interests means that we can collaborate with our friend, associate, alumni university, other researchers from not only from our college or university, then also we can collaborate in international. Also, we can collaborate our research with somebody that we meet in online webinar or seminar. We can do like this one because we know them personally before we are starting to get some collaboration. And if you want to make a research, please do not do your activities of doing your research by yourself, alone activities. Why? Because you will be stuck and confusing or difficulties when you want to get something that you cannot get the solution. That's why we need some collaboration. The result is when we are doing his research, it's difficult sometimes when we don't know what the solution that we are going to write. And when we are doing some collaboration, of course, the expertise of our other researchers is diverse. Why it's diverse? Because they have different way of how they are say about the publication. Because they have also different way of how they are saying about the manuscript or writing, academic writing that they want to show about his individual things when they want to say. It means that good research, there needs some good collaboration. And why we have to do collaboration? Now we are moving to choosing the right journal. When we talk about the right journal, it's not easy. As previous presenter already talked about the journal, that's not about journal, but the real journal we can check from the SJL schema journal rank, because from that SGR we can find out which a real journal that in line with the Scopus index. And why we have to choose the right journal? This is what we call we can identify and find out the journal related to our research. Sometimes journal is not easy to publish. They need the time. But sometimes when you do not know about how far they will be published, they will be asking you to revise your publication. We have to be a good person, good thinking about the journal. The journal sometimes they confusing when we asking about how long does it take to review our journal? Because the good journal, they take long period of time. So if we know about the time it's confusing you, and then you need to publish earlier or faster than you expected, what you have to do is try to find the quick publishing journal. Some of them, they have a quick or fast publishing journal, but the problem is the quick or the fast publishing journal, the queue of the journal is not that you asking for, because the good journal, they need the times to review, because so many scholars who have a good reputation, they try to do at the same journal that you want. And
Mr. Khairun, Mr.
Yes.
Khairun,
Yes.
can we inform you that the time is almost over?
So I just go faster then. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just go faster. So choosing the right journal, and when we choose about the high impact, we have to talk about the cost, and we have to talk about the cost, and then we have to know also about the journal reputation and how to submit the journal, because this is the way of how you are getting your journal easily to publish. And well, sometimes the journal that we are doing, we have sometimes there are rejection about our paper. There is two kind of rejection: instant rejection, or after there will be rejection our paper after peer review. So it's instant rejection if the paper is not novelty, major error, and substances are not in line with the journal. And rejection after peer review, mostly our manuscript content with poor science, and then the data is that we present is not really good, and then the conclusion is not in line with the paper and not proper references. So if we have a problem with that one, if manuscripts rejected, we can do in the three ways. That if it is rejection, what we have to do, we have to revise at the time that they're asking, and then after we revise, we have to resubmit. Most of the journal, they will asking you, okay, you can go with this journal, but you need also some revising to do it. That I think I can share with you, and I'm happy if you have any question and we can discuss with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khairun Nasirin, for the very informative presentations. And for all participants, you can deliver your question directly, or you can write on the chat room. For the first question or the second questions, who want to deliver the question for Mr. Ferry G, I please you. Okay, the first participant from Mr. Izzuddin, lecturer from Sociology Department, Sriwijaya University. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Rindang Senja. I would like to thanks to Dean of Faculty of Social Science and Political Science, and the Vice Dean of the Political Science, Dr. Azhar. I think both speaker is very interesting presentation and experiencing in writing journal. So as a young lecturers and early researchers, I would like to ask some question. Actually, I have a lot of questions, but I will reduce in two questions in one speakers. Is this okay, Mrs. Rindang?
It's okay.
Okay. This question to Prof. Ferry G. I already submitted some Scopus journal, and I have a lot of comments in my one or two articles. It's my revisions. So how we respond the reviewer suggestion, so our article could be accepted,
Okay.
or we just accept it all, or we can debating our article based on our perspective.
All right.
This is the first question to Prof.
Yep.
Feriji. The second question is how we selected a good journal for fast accepting, because as a lecturer we not only writing and reading, but also teaching and a lot of thing in our department. So how your suggestion to us? Thank
Sure.
you. And
Yeah.
to Associate Professor Dr. Khairun Nasirin, I have two questions too. Is this okay, Mrs. Rina?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, but for the first time, I will let Mr. Perigi to answer your question because
Okay.
Mr. Perigi has limited time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, please, Mr. Perigi.
Yeah, thank you so much for the questions. The first questions in relation to respond the reviewers' comments. Once you receive the reviewers' comments, what you need to do is prepare a table to demonstrate how you respond, how you address all the changes, revision, and user track changes in your file. And then you need to carefully check and what suggestion, what question, what recommendation, whether you be able to follow and accept and those changes into your file. The only reason if you said that is a major revision, it's substantially you need to do a lot of changes. Maybe you need to rewrite, maybe you need to do more data collection. I think it's better you need to follow them rather than you just simply said that you can't do it or you just debating that particular conversation in that response. So I think what you need to do, make a list of those revision changes and then use the track changes in your Microsoft Word and address those changes, and then make sure you really need to nicely to communicate with the reviewers. If you simply can't do it due to time or due to other things, you better check with the editor and then getting advice for that. But if or you can try the best you can do, unfortunately, instead, rather than you just leave it there, you have to answer and revise any changes. Never skip or never miss that. That's number one. Number two, in relation to your question, how you ensure get accepted, that three things you have to understand. You need to understand the level of your paper, whether the paper, okay, this is good enough for Q1, then you better to check with Simago, check and the scope of your paper, whether it's suitable into that journal. And number two, if you think that level of your paper is not for the Q1, then you better to do Q2 or perhaps Q3. Unfortunately, you cannot force that level of your paper into the Q1. You better check your paper, the level, and the main thing for you, you need to read from the list of that journal whether it's something similar that paper, and then you'll be able to try to resubmit to that journal. Okay. And then number three, to make sure you communicate with your co-authors as well, whether that journal is the article suitable for that journal. Communication is very important, especially you need to understand who's the owner of that paper. And then check with that article whether you cited two papers into your article, from that journal. If yes, and then that particular good chance as well, your paper gonna be accepted. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you to Prof. Jerry. Can I ask to Dr. Khairin, Mrs. Senya? Okay. So my question to Associate Professor Dr. Khairin Nasirin is, how Dr. Nasirin get a lot of inspired articles, because as earlier researchers, we very difficult to get inspired. Do we get a lot of literature so we go to field, or we get to the field and then we got some problems so we can writing, or which one we should get it? This is the first question to Dr. Khairin, and the second question is, as a non-native English speakers, we are very difficult to accept it in the good journal, especially in British or in USA, because we already knows that a lot of the Scopus journal in Q1 is from the British and USA. So did we prohibited or forbidden to pay English consultant translator to update our articles? Thank you, Mr. Rindang.
Okay, can it go straight?
Yes, please, Dr. Khairin.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Izzazuddin. Okay. First question, how to get a lot of article, because you know what I'm doing is first is, you know, I try to do sending my article on everywhere. If you want to make publish article in the journal, mostly what I do, I didn't share my paper in the journal only one. Mostly I do in more than 2 or 3 paper that I submit at the same time, because to wait until they have a response with the good journal is quite long time. The shortest way is mostly 3 months. They will say, just say it's accepted. The first is only 3 days, 3 months is accepted. After that, they will asking you with some, you know, the mistake that you have to revise it. Sometimes they have, if you are interested with that journal, mostly the editor asking you to revise its short period of time until you can finish your paperwork or not. And why I get a lot of article here, because, you know, as I told you that I always doing collaboration. I'm doing collaboration. This is only not only one person who in line with my paperwork that I'm interested, or my expertise, that I ask everyone who in line with my paper to join me, or I can join with them, because sometimes the other researchers, they have very unique specification. What I say, this very unique, because by doing that, sometimes they will share and then they will tell about if you do like this one, they will have this is the solution. And sometimes when we have some collaboration, we can watch what they always publish in the journal. Mostly people who publish a lot, they know they have their own journal that they can publish easily. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing a lot of articles, because I can make some collaboration with them. And the second question that related to your question, I'm not native English, and of course difficult to publish. I'm agree. What I'm doing again, I have to do some collaboration, and I ask some people, they can try to do. Sometimes they know the trick. Even we are in Indonesia, they will tell us about how to solve. You know, if you submit here in this journal, the editor will be asking you something like this one. And I already submit a lot with, mostly I doing in a journal with Q2 or Q3. That is quite difficult, but Q4 is quite easily. Why? Because mostly of the Q3 or Q0, now we have Q0 also in the Schema Go ranking. And what is that meaning? Because Q0 or 4, that's quite easily because the journal sounds new journal and then just published in the Scopus index. That's what I'm doing. But in the Q2 or Q3, quite harsh to do because so many scholars try to publish in the same journal with us. And then the editor is not that many that we are expected. That is the problem. And even we are not native, and if we have a lot of publication, they will see who you are, something like that. So doing your collaboration and communication with the you friend who are in line with your expertise, it is the good points to catch up to publish in journal. Yes, that's my answer, Mr. Izajuddin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khairun.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khairun and Professor Feriji for the answer. And thank you, Mr. Izzuddin, for your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, all participants, we are so sorry because our time's so limited and we must close the Q&A sessions. But don't hesitate to ask your questions. You have notes the emails and the WhatsApp number from Professor Feriji and Dr. Khairun Nazirin. If you still have any questions, you can text and emails to them. Okay, thank you very much once more, Dr. Khairun and Professor Feriji. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's very delightful and fruitful discussion. Thank you. See you again. See you again. And thank you so much. And for all participants, thank you very much for your active participations. And here we are in the end of the sessions of Q&A session and the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll give back to the MC. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, thank you, Mrs. Rinda, as moderator, who has guided the material session very well. And also thank you for Mr. Professor Feriji, PhD, and Mr. Dr. Khairun Nazirin, MPD, Mars, who have shared their knowledge and experience, also made interactive discussion. Hopefully what is conveyed can be useful for all participants and can be implemented in life. All right, before we close our event today, I, as Master of Ceremony, have invited all the ladies and gentlemen to take a photo. So please turn on your camera and give your best smile. For operator, please take over. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn on your camera and give your best smile. Okay, please give your best smile. The next photo is 3, 2, 1. Okay, once again. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. And thank you for operator. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't feel finished with our event this morning. So let's close by saying lafaz hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. I'm Deliana Duyulandari as your master of ceremony. Today I say thanks for you all and I apologize for any unpleasant word. I end. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. See you on the next dance.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Terima kasih Dr. Khairun, thank you
Terima kasih
Dr.
banyak.
Khairun, thank you
Terima kasih
Profesor Feriji.
Oke. Izin meninggalkan ruangan Zoom.
Iya, silakan Pak. Sehat selalu Pak Khairun, sehat selalu. Salam kenal dari saya, dari kami. Sehat selalu, sukses selalu Pak.
Ya, terima kasih banyak.
Ya, terima kasih banyak. Profesor Feriji, thank you.
Jadi untuk seluruh peserta mohon jangan meninggalkan room Zoom terlebih dahulu karena akan ada pembagian link sertifikat. Untuk seluruh peserta sudah bisa mengisi link absensi yang ada di kolom chat untuk mendapatkan sertifikat.
Teman-teman,